Hello everyone. Recently I've been trying out all of the products offered by a company called Mob Beauty. Now Mob Beauty is a new company that was started by the people who originally founded MAC Cosmetics and then made it a success back in the 1980s and 1990s. Recently they introduced a new cream foundation as well as a new balm highlighter, and so I will be talking about those products in this video. In addition, I've been using many of their color cosmetics for about 9 months now, and so I'll be discussing all of those products and trying some of them on. So I think that the products are especially appropriate for people like me who have very sensitive skin and who have dry and mature skin. Mob Beauty's roots go back to 1984 when there was a gay couple in Toronto that was making makeup products in their kitchen because they couldn't find any products that they liked on the marketplace. Those two guys were Frank Toscan, who is a photographer and a makeup artist, and Frank Angelo, who was a salon owner. And the idea was that they wanted makeup that would look better in photographs and that also would be appropriate for a variety of skin types as well as skin tones. So Frank Toscan, who was the photographer and makeup artist, had a sister named Julie Toscan, who was 15 years younger than him and still in college. And she was dating a guy named Victor Casale, who was a chemistry major at the University of Toronto. And so the two Franks, as they were called, said, "Oh, this is great. We can recruit him and get him to help us to create makeup for our business." So Victor and his girlfriend, Julie Toscan, they became the first two employees for the company of MAC. Julie Toscan eventually became the global head of marketing and PR for MAC, and Victor Casale eventually became the chief chemist and managing director of R&D, quality assurance, manufacturing, and distribution operations for MAC, and they stayed with the company throughout the 1990s. So Victor Casale was originally responsible for creating all of the MAC products that started out the company. They also started an initiative called Back to MAC, where people could send in their used products, and so Victor Casale was also in charge of that initiative. So MAC grew steadily throughout the 1980s, and their slogan became all ages, all races, and all sexes, which certainly was way ahead of its time. The company started by selling the products to photographers and models and makeup artists, but then pretty soon a lot of other people wanted the products too. And in 1990, Madonna asked if the company could make her a bright red lipstick that she could wear for the entire concert on her Blonde Ambition tour and not have to reapply it. So they created a shade called Russian Red and a new formula that she wore on the tour and then she told people about. And so people became very excited about the brand, and it grew very, very fast in terms of people wanting to purchase from it. Then in the early 1990s, the company found out that in other countries that there was a real profiteering going on with other companies using the MAC name on products that had nothing to do with MAC. And when the company complained, the governments of those countries, I think that was primarily Asia, said that unless they started to actually sell their products in those countries within the next year, that they would lose their rights to the name. So at that point, the founders decided that it would be a good idea to bring in some help. So therefore, they created a bond with Estee Lauder where they sold them 51% of the company in order to get better distribution, but they retained the creative rights. And then in 1997, Frank Angelo died of a heart attack after a routine surgery. So at that point, all of the family, including Frank Toscan and Victor Casale and Julie Toscan, they all retired from MAC and moved on. They started the Toscan-Casale Foundation, and then it seems like Victor and Julie eventually broke up, and Julie focused her time on creating a charitable organization called the Youth and Philanthropy Initiative, which works with hundreds of schools primarily in Canada. And Frank Toscan had 4 adopted children, so he spent the next 20 years raising those kids. And then more recently, he and his personal trainer started a chain of restaurants in Canada that are focused on ethical meats and paleo eating and sustainability and healthful eating. And I looked at the menus for those restaurants, and I really feel like if they opened one of those nearby me, I would eat there probably every day. I think it sounds terrific. So that's called Impact Kitchen. And then Victor Casale is focused on a number of products related to makeup. So in 2000, he started a company called Cover FX. So the idea with this company was that he had heard from dermatologists that they really wanted to get products that would not be irritating. And so he created a line of products with cleaner ingredients. So since leaving Cover FX in 2019, Victor Casale has been involved in a number of different initiatives. First of all, he started a company called Pure Culture Beauty with a woman named Joy Chen. And that company offers individualized skincare based on not just your answering questions about your skin, but also based on your taking a swab of your skin and the company doing an analysis of the culture of your skin. In addition, Victor Casale started an organization called Pact Collective. So this is a nonprofit that is designed to collect the used packaging from the entire beauty industry, from all of the companies, and bring it back to a central location so they can recycle as much of it as possible. So in addition, Victor Casale worked with Crayola recently to produce a whole package of different colors of crayons that represent all different people's skin tones. And that is called Colors of the World. And then there's Mob Beauty. So Victor Casale started Mob Beauty along with a colleague of his from Cover FX in 2020. So I had read that Frank Toscan, who was one of the founders of MAC, was involved with Mob Beauty. And so I wrote to Mob Beauty and asked them if this was the case. And they wrote back to me and said, Frank is Victor's brother-in-law, and together the family started MAC, with Vic's role at MAC as the founding chemist. Victor Casale is our head chemist and CEO co-founder. Frank is an investor and partner of Mob Beauty and was active since pre-launch, supporting our efforts. So on the website, the company is described as having clean, sustainable, vegan, refillable makeup for a better world, pro-quality formulas that don't compromise. Now, in terms of the ingredients, first of all, they don't have any animal products, and that means they don't use beeswax, they don't use lanolin, they don't use carmine. They don't use any silicones or acrylates, not because they feel that those are bad for health, but because they feel that those do not break down, and so therefore they're bad for the environment. In addition, they state that they don't use any parabens, gluten, talc, carbon black, aluminum powder, synthetic fragrance, BHA, BHT, chemical sunscreens, mineral oil, petroleum products, PEGs, Teflon, retinol palmitate, SLS, ethoxylated ingredients, and also they don't use any regular castor oil because, as they explained to me when I asked, they think that this goes rancid. And apparently the reason for that is because they don't want to have to put any essential oils or any unnecessary preservatives in the product to keep it from going rancid. So for the most part, these products include no fragrance at all, no essential oils, no things like linalool or limonene, and certainly no synthetic fragrance. Those are totally banned. The lip products do include very small amounts of vanillin and some essential oils like citrus oils, but those seem to have so little of the ingredients in them that I can barely taste them myself, and I'm very sensitive to that. So this is a very different ingredient strategy than any other company that I have ever seen. So the question is, what do they put in their products if they don't include all that stuff? They use a lot of safe synthetics, and they use some natural ingredients in the product. The thing that they really do use is artificial colors. So this is at the centerpiece of their company, that they are trying to create products that are usable by makeup artists, and I think that you really do have to have the colors right to do that. They're also using phenoxyethanol as a preservative, but they're using it at 1% or less of the formula. So this is the standard that Clean at Sephora uses, and this is also allowed at Credo. So I thought that I would talk first about the refillable packaging, because I think this is just spectacular. So they created these really heavy-duty plastic containers that you can pop different sizes of refills into. So for instance, this one has room for either 2 eyeshadows or 1 other kind of product, whether it be a blush or a bronzer or a foundation, and it's all plastic, but it's heavy-duty plastic that really will last for a very long time, and that seems very high quality. So you take the inserts and you pop them into this area here, and then this little holder comes down into place to hold them into place without a magnet. They don't want magnets. And then they have clear plastic in the top so that you can see what colors are in the palette. I will never have to replace any of these. I think that they will last forever. And the fact that you can really see the products through the lids makes them very, very usable, and they're also relatively inexpensive. So for instance, one like this is like $5. I would like to see more companies join in this initiative and create products that would also work in these containers. Hopefully Mob Beauty would allow that to be the case. This is the black container for the lipstick, and they're refillables. They pop out like this. There's still quite a bit of plastic in this refillable, but the main thing that I see here is that once I put this lipstick in the case, I have no idea what lipstick is in this case, unless I put a piece of frog tape on it. What I think is interesting is that the refill actually has a clear plastic lid on it so that you can see the color, but when you remove that temporary lid and put it in the official packaging for it, then you can't see what color it is anymore. So I wish that there were a clear plastic lid for these that you could see it, or at least that there were a label that I could put on the package that would look a little bit nicer than that frog tape. This is actually a package for one of the lipsticks, and see how it has that color on it so you can see what it is from the sticker. I wish that they had given me a sticker like this that I could put on a lipstick container so that I could see at a glance what color it is. And then the one other package is for this mascara. So the mascara, you can pull this out of here and it comes in a smaller container, and then you pop it in here. So let's talk a little bit about the pros that I see for this company in general. First, I think that I feel really good about buying from this company because I feel like they're trying really hard to do a variety of things in the right way. I do think that these are all really clean formulas. I have had very little problems with them irritating my skin at all, and I do think that most people should be able to tolerate these products, so I feel really happy about that. And I also feel like these products are actually good for my skin, that many of them have moisturizing ingredients in them, or ceramides, or things that are actually healthy for my skin. And I do think that they also have a good return policy, so if you don't like something, you can send it back to the company for 30 days, or you can return it to Credo if you buy it from Credo. I also think there's a real emphasis on artistic creativity. So that was something that I wasn't sure was the case when I first started looking at this line. But more recently, they have hired a bunch of makeup artists to go to their lab in Southern California and to create their own custom colors and their own custom palettes. And so the first custom palette that they created and released was from a goth type makeup artist who's very creative, named Jessica Hayes. So this is called the Spring Goth Collection, and this was just featured on their website today, actually. And when I look at this collection, I am so impressed with these colors, because even though they're colors that I wouldn't ordinarily think of purchasing, and they're colors that I think that a lot of people would think were kind of avant-garde, when I look at these colors, I really think that they would be really interesting and wearable even for me, and I'm very tempted to buy this line of colors. So I'm really happy that they are bringing in people that really have an eye for doing interesting things and that have a good color sense. Now, in terms of the downsides that I see so far that I'm hoping that they will manage to fix as time goes on, the first one that is just a kind of a personal peeve for me is that none of these colors have any names, and instead the names are all just like M31 and M73, and I find it to be totally impossible to remember numbers. So I am hoping that they will come up with good real names for the colors. In addition, I think that it is very difficult to know which colors I am ordering before I actually place the order. So I don't feel like the pictures on the website are that accurate in terms of what the colors actually look like, and then there are certainly not very good color descriptions either. So in general, that makes it kind of frustrating for me, particularly since these are not cheap products. So I would like to see them either put better descriptions of the color on the website, or have better photography, or give all of the shades to influencers who are going to photograph the colors in natural light so that you can see more what the colors actually are. Or, and I think this would be the best solution, to provide samples to people of the colors that they would like to try so that they can see which ones they actually want. So I would be more than happy to pay for a selection of colors that, even if I didn't get a discount on a future purchase, I think that being able to look at the colors in advance would be worthwhile to me in order to not make a big mistake. So now I think I will go put my contact lenses on, and then I'll try on a few shades. So this product was just released maybe about a week or so ago, and I've tried it a number of times on my face, but I haven't actually tried it on camera. I have the shade Neutral 20, which is a light shade, and I also have some samples that I purchased for $1 each of a bunch of other colors of this product in the lighter shade. So this is swatched on the back of my hand, and I think it's a fairly good match for me. So I put a little bit of color corrector under my eyes, but otherwise I don't have any foundation products on my face. So I'll just try dabbing it on a little bit and see how it looks. So usually what I do, regardless of what kind of product I'm putting on, is that I will dab some on with my fingers and then try to rub it in, and then go over it with a brush in order to actually blend it into the skin. And because I'm looking a little bit red from the heat, I'll just try to put a light layer on and then build it up in areas where I see that there's more issues that could be addressed. So I think this is a very nice foundation in terms of how it feels. It has some really nice moisturizing ingredients in it, and ceramide. And this is the Everything brush from Jones Road, so I'll just try to buff this in a little bit. I don't feel like with this one that it would be absolutely necessary to use powder on it, but I do feel that it's feeling a little bit moist, especially since it's kind of warm in my house today. So I'm going to try putting on a little bit of this Kosas powder. So in general, what I have found is that products that contain silicones tend to be less problematic in terms of making my wrinkles look problematic. I am not seeing a lot of wrinkles that look a lot worse than usual. And then after I kind of smooth it in and put powder on it, I think it looks pretty good compared to the others. So there are 36 shades, and they are all split up between either pink, golden, neutral, or olive, and 6 of the shades are olive, so people that have olive skin may find a good match in this line, I would think. So here are the shades that I have, and I will label this. Hopefully, since this is all natural light in my house, you will be able to get a good sense of what these colors are like. Now, one thing that I learned from the makeup artists at MAC is that if I choose a foundation shade or a concealer shade that's a little bit more pink than my usual shade, that it may work to neutralize the shadows under my eyes. So I've already put a color corrector down, so I don't know if this is going to make that much difference. But here is the shade Pink 20. So I'm just going to try putting this down to see if it makes any further difference, or if it seems like it would work for that purpose. So the next product that I will show you is this highlighter balm, and it is available in 4 shades, and it is supposed to be a skin conditioning product as well as one that creates some glow and moisture to the skin. And it says that it includes hyaluronic acid, ceramide from Korea, I think, and squalane. And I have the color that's the darker one in the color bronze. So I will try putting a little bit of this on and we can see what it looks like. So it's not just adding sparkle to the face in terms of glitter or mica or diamonds, but it's actually adding mostly moisturizing to the face and a little bit of color and maybe a little bit of a shine. But it looks very natural. I think that this is actually very similar in terms of performance, although not at all in terms of ingredients, to a new highlighter balm that I purchased from Beauty Counter, and this is kind of remarkably similar. So this is a product that again is in a refillable container, and I will try swatching this one next to the Mob Beauty one on my hand so you can see what the difference is. And I happen to have both of those in the bronze shade. So what we have here on the top is the Beauty Counter one. On the bottom is this Mob Beauty one. I feel like the Mob Beauty one's a tiny little bit stickier, but basically it's performing the same. And then this Beauty Counter one, I happened to purchase a second refill in the rose gold, which I have on the bottom. And it really is not that much different in terms of color. And basically when you put this on your face, it really just sinks into the skin so that you really don't see a whole lot of color in there. But I think these are quite different than most of the other highlighters that are on the market in terms of they look very natural. They look more like I'm just have a little bit of glow to my face rather than that I have any kind of a makeup product on once they go on. The other product that I think these perform fairly similarly to are the Jones Road Miracle Balms. So I've been looking kind of hard for products that I think are similar to those products. And while I still haven't found anything that I think is exactly like the Jones Road products, I do think that these highlighting balms are getting pretty close in terms of they're providing a very slight wash of color on the skin, but a little bit of moisture that really works well for someone who's getting older or who has dry skin and that is trying to create a look that's a little bit more youthful. So my video filming was cut off yesterday, and in the meantime I needed to go get my hair cut. So I am back with shorter hair, and the first product that I need to put on is the eyebrow pencil, because my eyebrows are pretty much non-existent without any pencil or gel on. And this is a new pencil that I just got from Victoria Beckham, so it's called BabyBlade, and they claim that you should be able to use this pencil without any additional products on it. Oof! And immediately I broke it. That's not a good sign. Let's try to be a little more careful, I guess. So this is a darker shade than I would probably usually use. This is taupe, but it looked to me like their blonde shade looked like it might be on the reddish side, so that does not usually work very well with my hair. And see, that's a very dark look compared to what I usually use, but maybe that's not a bad thing. So I think this is really too dark of a color for what I prefer, but I think a lot of people would really like that. And I'm a little disturbed by the fact that it got broken so easily. I don't think that I used it that roughly. And in terms of it looking natural, I feel like it's somewhat more natural than most of the brow pencils that I have used, but not as natural as the Jones Road one, and certainly not as good as using a brow pencil in combination with gel. So next, let's put on a little bit of the Mob Beauty foundation as a cover-up. And I was looking at the video from yesterday, and I do think that using the pink shades under my eyes works pretty well in terms of it being like a mild color corrector. So I'm going to do that again today, and then I will use my regular neutral color on the rest of my face. So this is Pink 20. And then this is Neutral 20. I feel like compared to a lot of the concealers that I use, that this one is a little bit more on the moist and hydrating side, to the point that in this warmer weather, I didn't even put any moisturizer on before I put this on. I just washed my face with my beloved Lisa Eldridge cleanser, which does have some moisturizing components to it, but I didn't put anything else down on top of it. And I think that this is going to give me plenty of moisture for this warm day. Even though my face is usually quite on the dry side. So then I will buff that in here with my Jones Road brush. And then because it's so warm, I will put on some powder. So I think this is looking pretty good, considering how little work I put into it. And then because I'm going to be putting on powder eyeshadow, I will put on a little bit of this Say concealer above my eyes. So now I put all of the eyeshadows and the two highlighters that I have from Mom all in this one palette. So buying a palette like this would cost, I think, $135 filled, but I got quite a few of these shades in a special kit that was offered by Beautylish. I think it's still on the site, but it may be almost sold out, and I don't know if they're going to restock it. But it looks like this. So I have 8 eyeshadows and 2 highlighters. So this is the green color. And then let's try a little bit of this brown color here, just like right in the corner. And this is way too dark, but I'm hoping that it will blend easily. Oof, very dark. That's all right. So I'm just going to use a little bit of this highlighter on top of my eyes. And kind of over the whole thing, just add a little more shimmer to it, I guess. And I do think that all of these shadows, both the mattes and the shimmers, are high enough quality and good enough colors that they work perfectly fine for me as one and dones as well. Now, in terms of all of the products that Mob Beauty makes, the one that I really think is the most standout and that I feel pretty certain that I can say is the best in category, at least in terms of what I'm looking for, is their powder highlighters. So a lot of companies have created powder highlighters over the past year or two. So I'm thinking particularly of House Labs, which created some very, very shiny highlighters, like so shiny that I find them to be sort of unusable. Whereas these are sort of moderately shiny and very, very usable, and that they have been perfectly fine in terms of not irritating my eyes and in terms of usability on my cheeks. So the one that I just used was the rose gold one, so I will use a little bit of that on one cheek here. And then just so that you can get a comparison, I will use the other shade that I have, which is more of just kind of a gold shade on this cheek. And I think that both of these are really pretty and give a kind of an understated highlight that I don't have to feel I need to somehow mute down with putting more powder or something on it. I think that my skin looks really, really pretty. Now, what I realized is that last year, one of the products that a lot of people kind of raved about is this product from Chantecaille. So this is called the Sunbeam Cheek and Eye Shade. And what I found is that this product is looks exactly like the rose gold product from Beauty when I put it on my skin, both in terms of the color and in terms of the level of shininess, except this one is much, much less expensive. And I think that it's much better because it doesn't irritate my eyes. And I think I also like the formula a little bit better in terms of it being a kind of a softer shade. Now, it doesn't have this fancy carved flower on it. And the case on it is not designed for artistic sensibilities. It's designed for environmental sensibilities, and all of those things I find to be very, very good. So I am very excited about this, and I think that I think a lot of people would do well to try out these highlighters. So the next product that I will put on is the powder blush from Beauty, and I believe this is called M17, but in any case it's a peach shade, this one here. And what I have found with this one is that it is virtually the same as the House Labs blush, which is in Pomelo Peach. It's almost exactly the same shade, and it goes on pretty much in the same way, but this one is certainly less expensive, and it's also available where I don't have to feel bad about causing problems to the environment. So I'll put a little bit of this on. So as with the highlighter, this is a kind of a soft product. It has moisturizing type elements in it. So it kind of goes on even just kind of like being brushed into the skin with my fingers. I can kind of even it in if it goes on with too much. And this is a bright color, so it really does have the potential of being way too bright on the skin. Now, a product from Beauty that's outside of my comfort zone even more is their little cake liner. So they seem to be particularly proud of this product. And what you are supposed to do is to use some kind of an eyeliner brush, and in this case they make one that has this little square tip to it, where you put a lot of water on the brush, you make it into kind of a paste on this powder shadow type of a product, and then you put it right along the tight lining, I guess it's called. So I'm not very skilled at tight lining, and I've never used a cake liner like this before, and I am still learning what the best technique would be, but I will give it a shot in this video and you can see what you think. And this is the shade M90, which seems to be a dark brown. So in theory, you should be able to create a really thin line. It's a little bit challenging to create a really thin line like that. But I'll try it on my eyes anyway. And it's supposed to go right in to where your eyelashes are, so it kind of blends with the mascara. So it does seem that some people are just crazy about this eyeliner. And I do think that it's not irritating to my eyes at all. So if you're someone whose eyes are often irritated by pencil eyeliners, then this could be worth learning to use, I think. But I do think it's creating a little bit of darkness right along the lash line. So I feel like to get the right amount of blush with this really bright peach blush, I need to use this little tiny blush brush. So now let's do mascara. And I will admit that I usually lean towards using a tubing mascara because it creates what I feel is a more natural look that's easier to put on and also very, very easy to take off. And this is definitely not a tubing mascara. It's a mascara that is pretty much on the wet side, so when I take the brush out, even if I scrape a lot of this material out, it still seems to have a lot of mascara on the brush, and then it does create lashes that in my opinion, stick together more than I would like. Now, some people don't mind that at all, and I can use my spoolie to separate them. On the other hand, once this mascara goes on, I feel like it does stick to my lashes very well. It doesn't flake or clump or make little smears on my eyes, around my eyes. So I think would be a mascara that would be really satisfactory to a lot of people. But it is dark, and it is making the lashes have a lot more volume in them very easily. And I think for a mascara that has ingredients that are as clean as this, it's performing pretty well. And I have not found that it's been irritating my eyes at all. So a lot of mascaras, even if they say that they're clean, do irritate my eyes. And I have not gotten any irritation from this at all. And then I will put on some lipstick, and this lipstick is the cream color that is M3, which they say is a caramel pink. So this is quite a soft lipstick in general, and it's a little bit softer because of the warm weather. My experience with these lipsticks is that, first of all of them, including the matte ones, are quite soft. So if you're looking for a lipstick that's similar to what MAC makes, this is totally in a different category. They are not ones that you can put on and that are going to last for 18 hours. They're not drying. They're extremely creamy. My lips feel much better when I put these on than when I'm not wearing any lipstick at all, or even than when I'm wearing most lip balms. They seem to be very, very good for my lips. And they do, considering how moisturizing they are, I think that they do look pretty nice on the lips. I think that they go on pretty easily. You're not seeing a lot of smearing on this, even though I just kind of threw them on. And they stay on fairly well, but they're not indestructible as conventional MAC lipsticks are. But in terms of their being good for my lips, and in terms of them not having any problematic ingredients in them at all, I think they're fantastic. They are supposed to have a little bit of flavoring in them, vanilla and citrus essential oils, but I really don't taste that at all. I think they taste perfectly fine to me, and they don't irritate my lips at all. So I feel really good about them, and I feel really good about these being something that I can wear on an everyday basis and not have any problems with them. So I would say this is a lot more eye makeup than I usually wear, but it's still not as dramatic as you can very easily get from this line. So now I feel like I removed pretty much enough of that makeup that I can start over again. There's a little bit of a smoky eye left, but I won't worry about that too much. So let me, this time I'll use the Jones Road Ash Blonde eyebrow pencil. I personally love this pencil. This is one of my favorite makeup tools. And then I'll put the concealer on like I did before. And just a little bit of this Neutral 20. So for this eye look, I'm going to use these cream clay eyeshadows. And I have two colors of these, both of which are really unusual shades. And one is very bright, and one is this kind of a mustard yellow type of a color. And so I'm going to try to use both of them on my eyes. And they are very highly pigmented, so you have to be really careful if you don't want to go overboard. But if you do want to have a very bright eye look, then you can do that also. So I'm going to start by putting a little bit of this mustard colored shade under my hand, and then see if I can put just a little bit of it on my eyes. And then if we want to put more, then we can do that. But I kind of think this mustard color is an interesting one and not totally unsuited to my coloring. You need to use so little of this pigment that you are not going to need to restock these anytime in the near future. So I feel like that's actually a fine one and done color for me. It's an interesting enough color that it really doesn't need any more embellishment to it. But since I have this blue color, I will try to put just a little tiny bit of that on my eyes as well, just to give it a little bit more of an interest value. And then I'll try to blend it all in. And I'm putting this on my hand first because I would be afraid to put the brush in there and then take too much pigment up. I've done that a few times before. So then I can kind of blend this together. Oh my gosh! All right, let's do that. Put a whole bunch of this teal color on there. So let's just try that in this eye just to see how it looks. Wow, that's a lot of teal color. It's kind of pretty. I kind of like it. All right, let's blend this one and have it be more of ombre effect. I think that these definitely require a lot of skill, and they're probably more appropriate for makeup artists than they are for me, but I do think that they're very unusual and pretty shades, and that if you don't mess up quite so much, that you can get a really interesting look. And the Spring Goth palette that I'm really interested in getting, that one is all cream clay shadows. So I think that you could create a really interesting look with those 7 shadows, or many different interesting looks. But these are interesting also. And now, interestingly, well, I found that the powder eyeshadows may be very, very slightly irritating to my eyes. I feel like my eyes have done fine with these clay eyeshadows. They haven't been problematic at all. So in terms of the cream clay blush, I have this one kind of somewhat darker shade. And again, these are quite pigmented. They're pigmented enough that you could use them as a lip product. So let me try that first. I think it's very pretty lip, actually. So they're thicker and they're stiffer, and they take a lot more blending to put on the skin. I would say that even in this hot weather, this is holding up like a champ. I'm going to put a little bit on my hand, and then I will dab a little bit on my cheeks, and then try to blend that in. So I think if you're not too aggressive about it, you can get a very pretty natural cheek, and that it does last forever. But that if you go in too strong with it, you can definitely create a kind of a clown type of appearance. So we try not to do that. And this is really not the blush shade that I would have chosen. This is the one that came in the kit that I bought from Beautylish. But I think it's a pretty color nonetheless, and particularly if I didn't have this eyeshadow on, it would be very pretty with just this more muted eye, I think. And then I'll kind of try to brush this in a little bit. Now the lipsticks that I have put on in these videos so far have been the cream ones. This one is a matte lipstick, and I have not found that the matte lipsticks and the cream lipsticks are really that different from one another. They're both quite creamy formulas. They both stay on pretty well. The ingredients list is a slight differences in terms of the order, but they basically have the same things in it. This product is called M93 Michelle. So there's a makeup artist named Michelle Spieler who worked with them to create this color. So I will try this on. Actually, it's not quite as creamy as the cream lipsticks, but compared to most of the other matte lipsticks that I have tried, even something like the Charlotte Tilbury Matte Revolution lipsticks, I feel like this one is really almost not in the category of being a matte. But it does last pretty well on the lips. So considering how good it is for the lips, I feel like it does last pretty well. So I think what I would do at this point is to put on some powder, because my skin is looking a little bit on the overly dewy side. And then I would put on a little bit of more blush. So I think that if I didn't have that bright green eyeshadow on, that this would be a pretty nice look. With this on, I think that if I were going to keep that eye look, I would definitely not put on this red lipstick, this brighter lipstick. And I would do something really nude. So I have one more lipstick that I can try, which is a coral color. So I'll take this lipstick off and try that on. And what I usually find if I'm trying on lipsticks is that I really need to put on a lip primer like the MAC Prep and Prime in between. But in this case, these are such hydrating lipsticks that I really don't feel like I need to do that at all. So this is number M61 Coral. So I think that's a pretty shade, but it's so bright that I feel like it's sort of an entire makeup look by itself for me, and that if I were going to wear this, I wouldn't put on very much eyeshadow at all. But I think it's a pretty color. It's very pretty. Now, Ma Beauty does make a lip balm, which is either available in a clear shade or in some pigmented shades, some of them very highly pigmented. However, I really had issues with this lip balm. Because it arrived and it was totally melted in the container like this. And I had purchased that from Credo, so I wrote to Ma Beauty and I let them know about that. And they immediately sent me another one, and exactly the same thing happened. So I think that the reason for this is because it was the middle of winter and it sat in my outdoor mailbox in maybe 10 degree or so, 10 degree Fahrenheit weather for a little while. And apparently temperature changes when you have certain kinds of makeup can really destroy the texture of the product. I also had this happen to me once with a Westman Atelier highlighter stick that I had it inside and it was working fine, and then I brought it outside briefly for less than 5 minutes, and it just immediately all broke down into this kind of mushy cream and never recovered. So I think you may have to be really careful about products like that. I have heard really good things about these lip balms from Ma Beauty from other people, so I don't think it's something that's always going to be a problem, but when products don't have silicone in them, they can be on the tricky side. I still have not had a chance to try a functioning lip balm from Ma Beauty. I do think that this tastes fine. It's a pretty color. It actually looks okay on me if I use my finger with it, but I'm kind of disinclined to put on something that bright with my finger. I do have samples of 2 of the cream lipsticks in addition to being able to swatch this lip balm. So the cream lipsticks that I have, the one on the top is M34, which says chestnut brown. The next one is M58, which is tawny rose. Then this lip balm is M25. So I think these are all pretty colors. So I'd be interested in especially trying that middle one. So here's my little collection of the samples that they sent to me. And I think it's nice of them to throw in these little samples, but I wish that they would have asked me which colors I wanted and sent me more of them. And I would have been happy to pay for that. So that is the Tawny Rose Cream, which is the shade M58. And this is a highlighting balm. This is the shade M98, which is supposed to be a glassy champagne. I actually like that. I I think I might like that one more than the bronzer one. Maybe I should get one of that. That's very kind of elegant looking, I think. So My Beauty does make two other categories of products. One is a powder bronzer, and then one is a cream clay bronzer. So the cream clay bronzer I did try in a little sample. I don't have that little sample anymore. It feels very much like the blush, so it's kind of a sticky, kind of hard formula that would certainly wear for quite a long time. I don't feel like there's probably a good shade for me in that. Certainly the shade that they sent to me was not a great shade, but you can look at the colors, and if you have a good shade, it could work out for you. So they also have a powder bronzer, and I have a little sample of this in M37. So all in all, in case you can't tell, I'm pretty excited about this line. And I'm particularly excited now that I am seeing what is happening when they're collaborating with various makeup artists that are developing shades and palettes for them. So I'm really looking forward to seeing some more of these, because I think it could be really exciting in combination with the quality of the formulas and with their innovation in terms of the environmental sustainability one. And especially since my skin does not seem to be bothered by these products and I feel good about using them, I really want to see what they're going to do in the future. All right, thank you very much for watching all the way to the end of the video. And I hope that if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, that you will do that. And please also leave any comments that you might have on these products. And Coco and I love you very much. Goodbye.